past on this show, I may have experienced from time to time a few, some might say, mental episodes.
I officially lost my background!
Oh, we're being invaded. Alright. Okay, let's go find out who did this.
I can see over 2 seconds into the future. I can foresee every single move that you could possibly...
He has a hole in his heart the size of a volleyball, and he's not dead!
Yeah, the doctors have honestly run out of medication to put me on. Anyway, yeah, with this chapter though, with Bleach chapter 514, Born in the Darkness. Holy shit. Okay, let's just go, and let's just take it by ear and see where it brings us. So the chapter opens up with that massive explosion from last chapter where Ichigo struck Juha point blank range. It did cause a little bit of a damage to his arm while Hashford is on the sidelines basically being a cheerleader. That's basically what his job is. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be something important later on, but as for right now, he might as well be Stern Ritter C, the cheerleader, because that's all he freaking does. Juha states to Ichigo that that was a mistake, to what Ichigo responds by thinking that that was him stabbing Ichigo in the first place was the mistake, but Juha, of course, is referring to the blue vein, which in this chapter we found out that last chapter was a little bit ambiguous as to Ichigo actually knowing, like consciously knowing what happened, because he still looked like really pissed. He didn't seem like, you know, like he knew what was going on with the blue vein. So in this chapter was confirmed that he did not know actually what was going on, and he's actually a little bit more ambiguous, oblivious about the whole thing. So Juha goes in close quarters, starts striking at him with a bunch of sword strikes, which results in tearing one of Ichigo's sleeves, revealing that blue vein has indeed spread to his entire arm, confirming Juha's suspicion. And here we finally get a little bit of exposition. We've been in this arc for 34 chapters. We've been getting exposition from now and then, like exactly what the Quincy's are and how they can do certain things that they do with Uehara. I explained it that one time. But this chapter we probably get the most heavy exposition we've gotten in the entire arc. Are you guys ready? Here we go! So, Juha states that it was actually because he used a pure Quincy like Kurji that Ichigo was able to get out in the cage in the first place. He states he probably should have used a random Arankar, because now he states that the memories within Ichigo's Ryatsu have become awakened. So, here's the basic gist of what happened and how he got out of the jail cell. Okay, so basically, Ichigo was like super uber pissed in the jail cell, right? Like he was, you know, basically getting ready to snap just mentally, just how freaking nuts it was, because he was sitting in a jail cell, listening to all of his friends die, you know, bringing up his Ryatsu to the utmost limit, trying to break out of this freaking jail cell. And what happened is every time he struck the jail cell, it basically kind of like an echo effect, like a ricochet effect. It knocked his Ryatsu back at him and also the Ryatsu of the jail cell. Kind of like, you know, kind of like when you ring a bell, sort of like when you ring a bell, the sound echoes and reverberates inside of the bell. Kind of the same thing within the jail cell, except it was with Ryatsu instead of sound waves. So, Ichigo is basically getting slammed with his own Ryatsu constantly over and over again, which resounded into the deepest part of his soul, awakening something in the very root of his Ryatsu that he never even knew was there before. And I guess it was the combination between both Ichigo's Ryatsu and Kurji's Quincy Ryatsu that caused this awakening to occur. And that leads Juha to state that the cell was not designed to imprison other Quincy's. Ichigo's response to this is, I don't know, what you talking about, Juha Bach? Pretty much like that, because I don't want to state it, guys, but it's pretty much confirmed in this well, it was kind of confirmed last chapter, but in this chapter it's also confirmed that Ichigo does indeed have Quincy abilities. So yeah, you can chalk that up to the cavalcade of abilities Ichigo now has. He's now part human, part Shinigami, hollow, Fullbringer, can't forget the Fullbringers, because that was completely useful to the plot. Actually, it might be. And Quincy, so 5 powers! 5 motherfucking powers! That's not overpowered at all now, is it, Kubo? And Juha, he's kind of doing that thing where he's not exactly telling Ichigo about what's really going on. He's just alluding to what's going on, which I love that. He states that, right, you don't know anything about yourself, not even about your own mother. Ichigo's mom is a Quincy! Ichigo's mom is a Quincy! Yes! I called that shit! Did I not call that shit? Go back to the clip. If Masaki was a Quincy, that would make perfect sense. It became, maybe it was a latent power or something, and Ichigo didn't even know it existed until he saw Kurji use it, and he's like, oh, I guess, and maybe subconsciously he awakened the power. That's an idea. Question, and I think it's a question a lot of people are probably going to come up with. Okay, so Ichigo activated Blue, which was a Quincy ability, and now Juha states that his mother was most likely a Quincy. He doesn't come out right away and say it, but he says pretty much that his mother is a Quincy. Okay, so does that mean Blue is like an official Quincy technique, like all Quincy's can use this? Because there's been situations when Uryu was about to die, like that time Ukiura ripped his arm off, and Blute did not come into play there at all. He also, when he was fighting Salapara Grants, but when he was fighting Ukiura, Uryu lost a hand, and nothing, no mention of Blute before. Uryu never mentioned it. Ryukin never mentioned it. So, in the last chapter when I said basically that it was because of Masaki and the powers were passed down to Ichigo, a lot of people were saying that Quincy abilities are not genetic, you just learn them, which I don't think that's true at all. I think it is somewhat genetic, because if anyone can learn them, then anyone can be a Quincy, which that's clearly not the case. So I'm guessing, is Blute a, I guess that's my question. Is Blute, like, maybe it's just for the pureblood Quincy's, maybe Uryu is not pureblood, because we do not know much about Uryu's mother at all. We just know about his dad and his grandfather, so maybe if Uryu's mother is not a pureblood Quincy, then maybe he's kind of like a half Quincy, and he's kind of like Ichigo, way back when he only had 2 powers, like he's half Quincy, half human. That's why he can use some Quincy techniques, but he can't activate, like, the more genetic stuff like Blute, which that would make perfect sense for Blute, because anyone knows that with genetics, you know, you inherit traits from your parents. So if your mother had a certain blood ability such as Blue, that would make perfect sense why Blue would be passed on, because it's a blood-based ability. But that's what I'm just talking about. Just wondering that. A little bit confusing there. And then we can I'll wait to the end of the chapter to go into full detail. But there's also the idea of Fullbring being involved in this whole mess too. So yeah. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so once again, Ichigo, for like the 3rd time in the chapter, is, what you talking about, Juha? And Juha states that he actually wanted Ichigo to go back with him and re-educate him from the start, just based on everything that's going on. And now he says he'll have to force him to surrender and drag him back. Ichigo, once again, 4th time in the chapter, what you talking about, Juha? You know, do I really have to start an Ichigo what you talking about Juha count in this chapter? Because it's like the 4th time he's asked this. I understand he's going through a lot of shit right now. I mean, this has probably been a long day for Ichigo, because I believe this is still the same day as when he, like at the beginning of the arc, when Ichigo was fighting against Ivan, and I think this is the same day. If not, it's the next day. So he's had quite a little of experience the past couple of hours. So Juha goes up to him again, grabs his head, states that this time he will pierce hard enough to go through Blute Vein, and just at that exact moment, it looks kind of like shadows kind of erupt, or it's kind of hard for me to explain. It's either Juha's shadow is like being ripped apart from his body, or maybe coming up to his body, or the shadows are coming up and dragging his sword down. I think this is like the first time Hashfeld's actually said something that's tantamount to the plot. He states to Juha that he can't stay out of the Shatin Birike area anymore, which that just means shadow territory, and states that he has to return to Vandenreich. They're kind of explaining. From what it sounds like, they're describing that palace, the Quincy headquarters, as Vandenreich. So maybe a translation error, maybe it's just that, or maybe that's what the actual palace is called, because we never really heard what the palace is actually called. Maybe the palace itself is called Vandenreich. And my theory on this is actually that it goes back to the whole reason why Juha still appears so young, even though like 1,000 years later. I'm assuming that staying in this different dimension, let's just call it the shadow dimension, the shadow world or whatever, I'm assuming that this is like some parallel universe, completely apart from the Soul Society, completely apart from the Hueco Mundo, and in order to achieve it, in order to, survive there, you can't stay out in the real world for that long, or maybe in Juha's case, because he looks so young as opposed to like 1,000 years ago, because he's apparently really old, he's apparently almost as old as Yamamoto, if not older, so it would make sense why he has like some kind of time limit that he can't stay in this world. So that's my opinion for that one. It doesn't, Hashfald himself doesn't say that like he has to go back. It just says that Juha has to. So I don't know if this is going to be like a massive retreat for all the members of the Stern Raiders, all the foot soldiers that came through. It could possibly be. If that's the case, it'd be a perfect time to regroup. But in this case, it's just Juha. I think that has to go back. He's actually a little bit confused because he thinks he should have more time. Then he remembers Sosuke Aizen, and he figures that it must be something that Aizen did to mess with his perception of time, which that's referring to Aizen. Again, so much to talk about in this chapter. That's referring maybe to Aizen having the ability of hypnosis still around some more, or maybe it's something Aizen did, because Aizen should still be bound into that chair. He should still be locked up. He shouldn't be able to move anything. And the fact that he was able to do anything to Juha, maybe that's like referring to maybe Aizen Zanpakuto actually did merge with him and he's able to mess with him, because messing up your perception of time is something that Aizen could easily do with Kyokyaku Suigetsu, because hypnosis. So maybe that's referring to that somewhat. Ichigo does his typical line, don't you think I'll let you get away? He says stop, runs at him, Hashfeld appears on the front lines finally, and oh shit. This is not my best day. So Ichigo's just kind of standing there dumbfounded at the fact that Hashfeld was even able to break his new Tensa Zangetsu Bankai sword, which I'm a little surprised by that as well. Juha's last words to Ichigo are, "Farewell, Ichigo Kurosaki. One day I'll come back to get you, my son, born in the darkness." Yeah, okay, so that's the end of the chapter. What the hell? What the hell? Son? What? No, wait, no, no. No! 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 No way! No! 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 What the hell? Okay. So. Let me just start with this. When Ichigo was revealed to be a full-blood Shinigami by Zangetsu, way back at the beginning of the series, when he was in his inner world and he was training with Zangetsu for the first time, and Zangetsu told him, you actually have Shinigami blood inside of you already, as opposed to Rukia's, who he was just borrowing. And then later in the series, it was revealed that Isshin was in fact a full-bred Shinigami. So that made perfect sense to me. I was really happy when I first read that. I was ecstatic. I was like, oh great, it makes so much sense now why Ichigo has Shinigami powers. His dad is a Shinigami. Okay, we're good. And in this chapter, when we found out Misaki was in fact a Quincy, we're not told that expressly, but it's heavily hinted at. So I'm like, okay, we're good with that. A little bit of confusing idea about the whole Blute, how Blute works and everything. But aside from that, okay, his mother's a Quincy, powers were dormant, and that actually makes more sense because as with the Shinigami powers, Ichigo had Zangetsu to kind of help him access his Shinigami powers. With his Quincy powers, he has basically nobody to really help him out with the Shinigami with the Quincy abilities, like the Zangetsu did. There was a few instances when Ichigo was about to die, like he was on death's door about to die, and Quincy powers didn't do anything. So I'm a little bit confused, like when he got a hole blown in his chest by Ukiura. Maybe he had to be around other Quincy's, but that made sense too. Juha being Ichigo's biological father, or if that's what they're trying to hint at here, that makes zero sense. It does. It really doesn't make any sense. I mean, maybe it does to you. Maybe he's not referring to son as in biological son. Maybe Juha just has some kind of relationship with Misaki, or maybe something like that. Maybe Juha is Misaki's dad. That would make more sense. But just the idea of having Juha say that is just a major mind fuck here, because I don't get it. I really don't. If you guys would like to explain to me exactly how this makes sense, because Isshin being his dad and Misaki being his mother, that made perfect sense to me. You didn't have to mess with that at all. That made perfect sense why he has these abilities. Fullbring ability makes perfect sense. Hollow ability makes perfect sense. Quincy ability makes sense now. But you had to go the extra mile, and you had to throw in the Juha saying, "I'm, see ya, my son," freaking Darth Vader. What is this? A lot of people were saying, well, if Masaki's a Quincy, how did she die by Grand Fisher so easily? So I'm throwing something out there that, going along with Isshin, how Isshin lost his powers at some point, we still don't know how. But I'm going to go with Masaki somehow losing her abilities too, and, like they both lost their abilities, and they decided to go and settle down in the human world, and they had a bunch of kids, and, like, kind of like that kind of story. Like, they were both badasses in their youth, but after a while they discovered, like, oh, they love each other, so they decided just to, give up their powers in some way or the other, and by the time Masaki encountered Grand Fisher, she didn't have enough power to kill him. So that would make sense to me. But, yeah, just going with the whole Juha, I am your father, you're my son kind of deal, I don't get that at all. Kind of hoping that's a translation error, honestly. But, yeah, thanks everybody for watching my video. Tekking101 signing out. See you guys.